Hi, and welcome to Wildlife 101 Introduction to Philippine Wildlife. Wildlife 101 is a 3-unit course with lecture only this semester. This course showcases the Philippine species of amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals, their classification and diagnostic features, the standard methods used to survey wildlife, threats, and conservation strategies are also discussed. What is wildlife? In the local vernacular, it is termed as buhay ilang. It also refers to animals that are not domesticated or living things or organisms in their natural state and habitat and is untouched by humans. For the purpose of Wildlife 101, wildlife will refer to the 4 groups of terrestrial vertebrates. These are the members of the 4 classes of tetrapods: class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Aves, and class Mammalia. And of course, we will only be dealing with Philippine wildlife. At the end of the course, the students should be able to: number 1, know the taxonomy of Philippine wildlife species. Number 2, understand some basic principles in wildlife ecology and wildlife techniques for basic research. Number 3, be aware of conservation issues. And number 4, be able to analyze problems concerning Philippine wildlife. What is the difference between wildlife management and wildlife conservation? Wildlife management is the process of maintaining wild species at desirable levels. These can include gamekeeping, which is practiced in foreign countries. They would also have open and closed hunting seasons. It may also include control of pests or invasive species and conservation of threatened species. There is a separate course for wildlife management, which is handled by the College of Forestry, Wildlife 105. Wildlife conservation, on the other hand, is part of wildlife management that deals with the prevention of loss of biodiversity, in particular, wildlife species. Why study Philippine wildlife? The Philippines is one of the 17 mega-diverse countries of the world. What does it mean to be a mega-diverse country? It means that the Philippines is one of the select number of nations that harbor the majority of Earth's species and high numbers of endemic species. Many of them are located in or partially in tropical or subtropical regions. Wildlife, as part of this megadiversity, is thus worthy of research, and in fact, it has attracted a lot of foreign attention, not only because of the diverse life forms, but also because of the endemic forms, or those that can only be found in the Philippines. New species continue to be discovered and described. There are approximately 1,420 terrestrial wildlife species in the Philippines, consisting of 116 amphibians, 367 reptiles, 734 birds, and 203 mammals. Now that's a lot of species to study. If you do a search on Google Scholar and type Philippine wildlife, you will see that there are quite a number of research topics on it. Our threatened species, hunting, ecology and biology, pet trade, conservation programs, new species, and more recently, with wildlife as the probable origins of the SARS coronavirus 2 that causes the highly infectious COVID-19 disease. Sir Alfred Russel Wallace was a British naturalist, explorer, geographer, anthropologist, biologist, and illustrator. He is best known for independently conceiving the theory of evolution through natural selection, but more famously known as the father of biogeography. After much travel and field expeditions, he published The Geographical Distribution of Animals in 1876, which correlates the distribution of animal species with geography, leading to what are known now as the zoogeographic realms. Where is the Philippines included? If you look at the illustration, the Philippines belongs to the Oriental region. But the next slide will make you think again. What and where is Wallacea? Wallacea was the name coined by Dickerson et al. In 1928 for the transitional zone located in central Indonesia between the Oriental and Australasia zoogeographical regions. Thus, it is a unique region and did not represent any zoogeographical realm. Wallacea encompasses islands which never had dry land connections to the mainland masses of either Southeast Asia or Australasia. It is bounded to the east by the Lydecker Line, which runs along the border of Australia's continental shelf, and bounded to the west by the original Wallace Line or Huxley's Line, which is a variation which includes the Philippines. So the question of whether the Philippines should be included in Wallacea is up for class discussion. Thus, I will end on the topic of Wallacea here. Our Department of Tourism has used the following slogans like, "It's more fun in the Philippines," and "Wow, Philippines." And if you've traveled away from Manila, you will surely see the natural beauty of the Philippines, part of which is our wildlife. I'm lucky enough to be a wildlife biologist and get to travel for free, and sometimes get paid too, to search and study Philippine wildlife in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Why is the Philippines unique? The Philippines is an archipelagic country which had no continental connections, except for Palawan. During the last great ice age, when sea level was lower by 120 meters, islands which are now separated became connected. These areas had the same faunal compositions and were known before as faunal regions, now referred to as Pleistocene aggregate island complexes, or simply as PAICs. These are the Greater Luzon, Greater Palawan, Mindoro, Greater Negros Panay, Greater Mindanao, and Greater Sulu. So within this PAICs is a variety of island. So like this one, this is Camiguin Island. And mountain, this is Mount Banahaw, ecosystems. And these various ecosystems have a variety of wildlife, community, assemblages. In mountain ecosystems, various forest types are present, starting with the lowland evergreen forest below and montane forests above. Due to logging activities in the lowland forests, like for example as shown here in Mount Malinaw in Albay province, areas may be transformed into ecosystems or mixed agroforest, and usually these are where communities establish. Elevational or altitudinal distribution vary among wildlife species, with some limited to the lower elevations or to the higher elevations, especially the endemic species. Or other species may be found throughout all the elevations. The rugged topography and wet climate of the Philippines supports rich mountain ecosystems with stratified forest habitats. Mountains divided into montane and lowland forests may harbor unique sets of highland and lowland fauna. For example, the lowland form is Otus megalotis and the highland form is Otus longicornis. Pachycephala philippinensis would have a highland form, Pachycephala albiventris, Orthotomus turbianus, Orthotomus cucullatus, Phyloscopus cebuensis, Phyloscopus trivirgatus, Aethopyga flagrans, and Aethopyga pulcherrima. Wildlife species also vary in terms of activity patterns, and this is referred to as their temporal distribution. So there are diurnal species, those that are active during the day, like most birds and lizards, and the cobra Naja samarensis. Nocturnal species are active during the night, so these are most mammals and frogs, and snakes, for example, Lycodon olicus. And there are also those that are active during the twilight, like during dawn or dusk, and these are the crepuscular species. So for example, the night heron Nycticorax caledonicus, and this one, Eurostopodus macrotis, the night jar. So they are mainly crepuscular but may also be nocturnal. Within a forest ecosystem, especially in tropical lowland evergreen forests, there is vertical stratification consisting of the leaf litter and subterranean layer, which is a habitat for the fossorial or burrowing wildlife, the forest floor for the ground-dwelling species. The understory is the undergrowth or flora beneath the canopy, utilized by terrestrial as well as arboreal species. The forest canopy refers to the upper layer or habitat zone, formed by mature tree crowns and including other biological organisms. For a single tree, tree canopy is used to refer to the extent of the outer layer of leaves of an individual tree. Hornbills are examples of canopy species. Above the canopy is the emergent layer. So I hope you are not wondering anymore why we have so many wildlife species. Indeed, we are rich in natural resources and we should protect them. Why? Because our survival depends on them. They provide a multitude of ecosystem services such as provisioning, which is concerned with production and providing food directly or indirectly. Supporting services is concerned with nutrient cycling. Regulating services is concerned with control of climate and diseases, and cultural services is the spiritual, aesthetic, and cultural benefits derived from wildlife. So, what are the threats to our wildlife? The main threat to our wildlife is habitat degradation or habitat loss. Another one is hunting or poaching, pollution, diseases, invasive species such as this feral cat, and hybridization. We will discuss more of the threats to wildlife during the next lectures. That's it. Thank you for listening. You may now proceed with your learning activity. Next week's topic is Philippine habitat types.